Now, in the latest Democratic nominating contest in the US presidential race, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has won a resounding victory over her only rival, the Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Clinton was always expected to do well in South Carolina, but few expected such a decisive result. Clinton clinched over 70% of ballots, while her opponent Bernie Sanders polled just 26%. Colin Campbell has this report from Washington.
All smiles after a commanding win. A confident Hillary Clinton took to the stage after cruising past Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in the state of South Carolina and grabbing a bulk of the state's delegates. The victory gives Clinton a comfortable lead in the overall race to become the Democratic nominee for president. And now she looks to have Republican frontrunner Donald Trump in her sights.
We don't need to make America great again. America has never stopped being great.
Clinton fought back after a loss to Sanders in the New Hampshire primary earlier in the month. With 2 victories in a row and a strong ground game to secure even more delegates in the upcoming days, she has the wind at her back. But Sanders says he's not giving up.
Tonight we lost. I congratulate Secretary Clinton on her very strong victory. Tuesday, over 800 delegates are at stake, and we intend to win many, many of them.
Clinton heavily courted and won over black voters in the first Democratic primary in the South.
Well, I'm voting for Hillary because I know her record, and I believe I know she'll make a good president.
African Americans are just 28% of South Carolina's population, but make up more than 50% of the state's Democratic electorate.
As we move toward the South and we start dealing with states in South, like South Carolina and the states that we deal with in Super Tuesday, we end up seeing that we're going down into what the Clintons' power base was.
Clinton's win comes after a roller coaster week for her campaign. A new survey showed many voters consider her, quote, dishonest and as having poor character. The controversy over her use of a private email account during her tenure as U.S. Secretary of State also made headlines after a federal judge gave lawyers the green light to investigate any wrongdoing. But Clinton received a midweek boost after securing Nevada Senator Harry Reid's endorsement. He's the highest-ranking Democratic leader to back her candidacy so far. Clinton now has her eyes set on a series of potential wins on what's known as Super Tuesday, where more than a dozen states hold nominating contests. And after a resounding win in South Carolina, Clinton will be looking to cement her position as the dominant Democratic frontrunner and the best person to take on Republicans for the White House in November. Colin Campbell, TRT World, Washington.
Well, let's take a look now at how things stand for the Democrats and Republicans after that victory in South Carolina. Hillary Clinton now has the support of 543 delegates, but that includes more than 450 superdelegates. Now, they're party elders who do not rely on the popular vote. Bernie Sanders has 85 delegates. With only 20 superdelegates, he's not so popular with the Democratic political establishment. On the Republican side, Donald Trump is in front with 81 delegates, while Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are in second and third with 17 each. Clinton and Trump stand in good stead ahead of Super Tuesday on March the 1st. That's when over a dozen states, including Texas, Virginia, and Alabama, will choose their candidates. Well, Charlie Wells is a features reporter for the Wall Street Journal and joins us now live from London. Charlie, good to speak to you this morning. So Hillary Clinton's got the big mo. Do you see her solidifying her position on Super Tuesday?
Certainly, this is definitely the victory that the Clinton campaign has been waiting for a long time. It seemed early on in the primaries like the Clinton camp was a little bit unprepared for the challenge that Bernie Sanders would pose, and definitely must have celebrated last night and goes into Super Tuesday, certainly with the wind at her back.
What are the chances of Bernie coming back, do you think, Charlie?
Analysts have certainly been saying that Bernie is not out yet. People are certainly still feeling the burn. There are a number of states where he could potentially do well come Super Tuesday. Bernie Sanders tends to do well with white working class voters. On Super Tuesday, states like Minnesota are in play, Massachusetts are in play, and it certainly remains to be seen if he can capture the same sort of lead that he had in those states as he had in New Hampshire.
Okay, let's have a look at the other side of the aisle now, the Republicans. So in the past week, we've had Chris Christie endorse Donald Trump and David Duke, former Grand Wizard of the KKK. How's that going to work for Trump?
I think that it will be increasingly complicated for him. Hillary Clinton said last night, we're going to take this national, and she now gets to focus more on attacking Donald Trump as opposed to Bernie Sanders. And certainly there are folks in the United States who are more drawn to that sort of middle-of-the-road approach that Clinton may get to start shifting to now, that she can sort of focus a little bit more on attacking Trump as opposed to Sanders.
And Charlie, just on Super Tuesday coming up next week, once we see the results from those votes, how much we'll be able to see who will actually be the nominations for each party?
We should know, we should have a fairly certain idea. There are about 1,000 superdelegates at stake here. So certainly by the end of Super Tuesday, we should have a fairly good idea, certainly on the left and the right, and we will certainly have a better idea of the race so far.
And Charlie, if you will, we'll just go back to the Republicans for a moment. So Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio have published their tax returns and trying to get Donald Trump to do the same. How's that going to play out?
Donald Trump, classic Donald Trump, is to attack his opponents whenever they come at him. And so what we will most likely see is the same sort of classic Donald Trump lines of attack. And we should really be prepared for anything at this point.
And Charlie, last time I spoke to you, I got you to give us a prediction. I'm going to get you to do it again. Who's going to win for the Republicans and for the Dems?
It's really tough to say. I think that in this race, almost anything imaginable has certainly happened. And the momentum on the right side definitely seems to be going in the Trump direction. On the left, South Carolina was a huge boost to the Clinton campaign, and it definitely shows that she can draw support from the minority voters who have been incredibly important to the Democratic Party and sort of solidifies a narrative. And so I think it's increasingly likely that that momentum will continue.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much, as always, for that.